Hello everyone, welcome to another video by Sapience Education. My name is Vishwa and we will be starting a new chapter today. Name of the chapter is Quadratic Equations. We are already familiar with quadratic polynomials. We have seen quadratic polynomial is a degree 2 polynomial. We can take this one as an example. X square plus 3x plus 1. So this is a polynomial and this polynomial has the highest power as 2. So this is a degree 2 polynomial which is called as a quadratic polynomial. Now if we equate this with 0 or not just 0, we can equate this with any number. As long as there is a equal to symbol here, this can be considered as a equation. So a equation is something that has a equal to symbol to it. Some variables on the left hand side equal to some constant number or equal to 0 in this case is called as a equation. Now good thing about equation is whenever we have a equation we will be able to solve it. Now before considering this quadratic equation, let us consider a simpler one. Let us consider x plus 3x plus 5x equal to 2x plus 1 plus 5. I'm just writing a bunch of variables, but you can say this is an equation because there is a equal to symbol in between all these terms, which means we will be able to solve for x. Let us take all the x variables to left hand side. So x plus 3x plus 5x minus 2x equal to 5 plus 1, that is 6. 7x equal to 6. So x equal to 6 by 7. Whenever we have an equation, we will be able to solve it. We can solve for the variable x. So similarly, in this quadratic equation also, we will be able to solve for x. But it will not be as simple as a linear equation. Now this example is a linear equation, this one. And a linear equation can be solved just by grouping the unknown in one side and taking all the known values to the right hand side of the equal to symbol. You can easily solve the variable. But in case of a quadratic equation, we cannot solve it like that. So there are some techniques to solve a quadratic equation. First of all, in a quadratic polynomial, we have seen something called as a zero of a polynomial. So if you remember, a polynomial can be represented in a graph and a quadratic polynomial will be in the shape of a parabola. And the points where the quadratic polynomial meets the x-axis is called as the zero of the polynomial. And we usually represent the zeros as alpha and beta. We even saw the general form of a quadratic polynomial as x square minus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta. Now this is the quadratic polynomial with alpha and beta as zeros. Now if we consider the equation, this is the general formula of quadratic polynomial, then the general formula of equation of a quadratic equation will be x square minus alpha plus beta x plus alpha beta equal to 0. This is the general formula of a quadratic equation in which alpha and beta are zeros. So in any quadratic equation, we can convert the quadratic equation in this format: x square plus some constant into x plus some constant equal to 0. Any quadratic equation can be converted into this format. Let us consider this equation: x square plus 2x plus 1 equal to 0. And the general formula of a quadratic equation we just saw as x square minus alpha plus beta x alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta equal to 0. In order to solve this equation, we need to find the values of alpha and beta. So by comparing, we can say minus alpha plus beta equal to 2, or we can say alpha plus beta must be equal to minus 2, and we can say alpha beta is equal to 1. Now we need to find two numbers such that when we add them, we should get minus 2, and when we multiply them, we should get 1. Which two numbers does this? Both the numbers are 1. If both the numbers are 1, then this is possible. Sorry, both the numbers must be minus 1. If alpha equal to minus 1 and beta is equal to minus 1, then we can say, yes, on adding them, we are getting minus 2, and while multiplying them, we are getting 1. So the factorized form of this general formula is x minus alpha into x minus beta equal to 0. So similarly, here also we can say x minus x, sorry, x square and plus 2x is written as plus x plus x plus 1 equal to 0. We're taking x common, x into x plus 1 into 1 into x plus 1. Now x plus 1 is common, so x plus 1 into x plus 1 equal to 0. So the value of this, value of x plus 1 whole square will be 0 only when x is equal to minus 1. A quadratic equation must always have two zeros because the equation, the graph of the equation passes through x-axis twice. But sometimes both of those values can be equal. For example, this line will probably look like this. It will just touch the x-axis at one point, and such kind of equations are said to have equal roots. A quadratic equation may have equal roots, that is alpha will be equal to beta, or sometimes it can have unequal roots where alpha won't be equal to beta, or sometimes it can have imaginary roots. Now this technique is called as middle term splitting technique, is useful to find equal roots and unequal roots. Some quadratic equations may have imaginary roots. It is better to use a technique called discriminant formula for that, and we will see that in the next exercise. Now in this exercise, we will be focusing only on the middle term splitting technique. So let us solve these questions to familiarize ourselves with this technique. So x plus 4 into x minus 2 equal to 0. We don't even have to split the middle term or anything because the quadratic equation is already given in the factorized format only. It's already in the factorized format. So x plus 4 into x minus 2 equal to 0. So these are just two numbers. There are two numbers inside two brackets, and when you multiply them, that is becoming 0, which means either this is equal to 0 or either this one will be equal to 0. So either x plus 4 equal to 0 or x minus 2 equal to 0. Only then when you multiply them, the entire thing must be equal to 0. So in this case, x will be minus 4, and in this case, x is equal to 2. So the answer to this question is x is equal to minus 4 or 2. This is a quadratic equation with two unequal roots. Now we will solve this question. Again, the quadratic equation is given in the factorized format, so we don't have to split the middle term and factorize it. Either 2x plus 3 is equal to 0 or 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. And in this case, 2x is equal to minus 3 and x is equal to minus 3 by 2. In this case, 3x is equal to plus 7 and x is equal to 7 by 3. So the answer to this question is x is equal to minus 3 by 2 or 7 by 3. For the last two questions, the equation was given in the factorized format, but here we have a quadratic equation which is not factorized. Now we will use the middle-term splitting technique to solve this equation. Now in such equations, we need to multiply the x coefficient and the constant term, that is minus 5 into 3, that is minus 15, and minus 14 is the middle term. We need to split the middle term in such a way that when you multiply the numbers, you should get minus 15. That is how middle term splitting is done. The constant term is minus 5 here. Constant term multiplied with the coefficient of x square, in this case minus 5 into 3, that's minus 15, should be the product of the terms that you split the middle term into. So minus 14 can be separated as minus 15 and plus 1. And if you split it as minus 15 and plus 1, when you add them, when you add minus 15 plus 1, that is giving you minus 14. So minus 14 can be written as 14x minus 5 equal to 0. The same equation can be rewritten as 3x square, and instead of minus 14, I'm just writing minus 15x and plus x, which is also equal to minus 14x. So that is how we should split the middle term, and minus 5 as it is equal to 0. Now the first two terms as a 3x common. So 3x into x minus 5x, sorry, not 5x, just 5. If 3x went away from minus 15x, only 5 will be remaining. And from the next two terms, we should just take 1 outside. So we will get x minus 5 inside the bracket. Now, there are two terms. This is first term, this is the second term, and both the term x minus 5 is common. So we can take x minus 5 outside. So inside we will have 3x plus 1 equal to 0. Now we got the factorized format of a quadratic equation. Now in this, we can just say either x is equal to 5 or 3x plus 1 equal to 0. Either x minus 5 is equal to 0. Either this number is equal to 0 or this number is equal to 0. And in this case, we will get x is equal to 5. And in this case, we will get x is equal to minus 1. Sorry, 3x is equal to minus 1. So x is equal to minus 1 by 3. So answer to this question is x equals 5 or minus 1 by 3. One more question. Again, this quadratic equation is not in the factorized format as well. So what should we do? We should split the middle term. Middle term is minus 5 here. We should split it in such a way that the numbers when multiplied will give us 3 times 2. The coefficient of x square multiplied by the constant. 3 times 2, that is 6. So which two numbers on multiplying we will get 6, and while adding we will get minus 5. So it is only possible to get a negative number on addition and a positive number on multiplication only if both of them are negative. Whenever you have this type of numbers in middle term splitting, that the middle term is negative, but the product of constant and coefficient of x square is positive, then definitely both the terms that you need to split it into will be negative, because minus into minus will give you a plus number, and minus added with minus will be a negative number. Now we just need to think which two numbers. And 6 is 3 times 2. So minus 3 times minus 2 is also plus 6 only. Minus into minus will become plus 3 times 2, 6. And minus 3 plus minus 2 is minus 5. So this is how we are supposed to split the middle terms. So 3x square minus 3x minus 2x plus 2 equal to 0. Now from the first two terms, we can take 3x outside, 3x into x minus 1. And from the next two terms, we can take minus 2 outside, so minus 2 into x minus 1 equal to 0. Now we have two terms. We factorize the 4-term equation to 2-term equation. Now we can factorize it further into one single term by taking x minus 1 common outside. X minus 1 went outside, so inside we will have 3x minus 2. And this is the factorized format. Now we can say either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or either 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. And in this case x is equal to 1, and in this case x is equal 3x is equal to 2, so x is equal to 2 by 3. The answer to this question is x is equal to 1 or 2 by 3. Let's just see a quick summary of this entire introduction part. So a quadratic equation is a quadratic polynomial which also has a equal to symbol in the uh, a quadratic polynomial that's equated with any constant number or 0. Now in a quadratic equation there can be two solutions. For a linear equation there will be only one solution, but for quadratic equation there will be two solutions. And the reason is the quadratic equation will make a parabola in the graph. In the coordinate axis it will make a parabola, and a parabola can sometimes meet the x-axis in two places, so it will have two solutions. Or sometimes a parabola can meet the x-axis only in one point. In that case it will have two roots only, two answers, but both the answers will be equal. That is how we should consider it. So a quadratic equation may have equal roots, it can have unequal roots, or it can have imaginary roots. Imaginary roots means alpha and beta do not belong to real numbers, they are imaginary numbers. We will study about that in the next exercise. Unequal roots is alpha not equal to beta. And then we saw some examples. The product of these two numbers is 0, which means either this number is equal to 0 or this number equal to 0. So x is equal to minus 4 or x is equal to 2. This question is also similar to that. But when the quadratic equation is in this format, we should factorize it first. So in order to factorize it, we need to use the middle term splitting technique. The middle term, in this case 14, can be split into minus 15 and plus 1. Minus 15 into plus 1 will be minus 15, which is exactly what we need here. Coefficient of x square is 3, coefficient constant term is minus 5, and their product is minus 15. So based on that, we split the middle terms, we factorized it, and we find the value of x. So I hope everyone understand middle term splitting technique. If you have any doubts, you feel free to discuss in the comment section below. Thank you.